Right, so just quick recap again. So for SQLs, you get these 4 types of SQLs for us. There are other ones, but that you don't need to know. These ones is just to manipulate our data with. So it will either be a select or an update or an insert or a delete, and you only have one of them. You won't have multiples of them. Then these other ones are there to indicate sections of the SQL, and they will also only appear once. You could have multiple of them, but each of them will only appear once in each SQL. You won't have 2 wheres or 2 order bys or 2 values. There will only be one of each of these. Alright, then our normal first question would be something like display all fields sorted. So it's a display, so we'll say select. And then this next section is which fields do you want to see. So if you only want to see the age, you'll say select age. If you want to see the name and age, you'll say select name, comma, age. If you want to see name, surname, and age, it will be name, comma, surname, comma, age. So you'll just with a comma separate each of the fields you want to see. If they say you want to see all the information, you select star. Select star from. So the star is all the fields, and you won't have star, comma, and then adding a field to it. That's not because you can't see everything and age, because age is already part of everything. So you'll say which fields you want to see. Then the next part with the select, it is always there. After the select is always our from part. And in the from, you have to now say which table are you looking at. So you want to see this field, but from which table? So you have to list the table name then. So then it will be your table, staff, or whatever the database programmer put it there. So you'll just look on the data sheet. The data sheet will tell you what the field or the table names are, and you use them. So you want to see this field from that table. Again, if it's from more than one table, you'll just have your comma. So select table staff, comma, table sales. If there was two tables, and when you've got 2 tables, on this side, when you select your fields, you can still just say age and name and price for argument's sake. If there's only one of these fields, if between these 2 tables, let's say this staff table, let's say there's another field called number. If table staff has got a number and table sales has got a number, now you have to say, because you're saying show me the number, but now from which table? It's sort of like a class. If we had 2 classes, a grade 10 and a grade 12, where there's a course C inside, and I say show me course C's surname. Now you won't know which one, but if I tell you give me the surname for the grade 12 and course C, then now you can tell me the surname. Or if I tell you, so from which table comes this field, and that comes in front. So you'll say your table staff full stop number. So these ones, because there's only one, you don't need to say. But once the field is in both tables, you have to indicate which tables, which field do you want to see. Alright, so sometimes a field name could have 2 words. It's not good to have it, but sometimes it happens. Let's say the field is called first name, but there's a space in between. So then you will say, then you use the square brackets. So then you'll say first name inside square brackets, comma there. So that will now indicate that this is a field name. So once there's a field name that's got 2 words, but to indicate that it's not 2 separate fields or 2 separate words, you put it in square brackets so that the program knows, listen, this is one field name. If it's from a specific table, that will also just be inside your square brackets. Table staff number inside the square brackets, indicating that that is one field. If you add the extra square brackets, it doesn't matter. Square brackets just means that is one word. So if you want to just add it there for some apparent reason, it's okay. You won't break it. But yes, when it's more than one word, it must be there. Generally, it shouldn't be there. I don't think it's good programming to add it. Generally, they'll rather put like an underscore between, like an underscore there or something. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's that part. The from. So with a select, you will always have a from part because one of the fields you want to show will come from a particular table. It could be one table, two tables, or three tables, but it will be at least one table. In your case, you'll never get three tables. You don't need to worry about that. Then your next part, so this one selects the fields. So it's the columns you want to see. After this, you could have a where. The where is optional. You won't always have a where. You could have a where. And the where will indicate which records, which rows do you want to see. So if you want to see all the people where the age is more than 10, because then you want to see only those records, then it will be here. Because then you'll say where the age is greater than 10. Or if you want to see anything like that. So in the where part, you'll have conditions as to which fields, which records do you want to see. Now, you could have multiple conditions here. And when you've got more than one condition, you'll use and or to say if you want all of them to be applied or not. So you can go where the age is greater than 10 and the age is less than 20. So this will basically be a between for you. So now it will only show you the records of the people that's more than 10 but also less than 20. So all our 11 to 19 year olds will be shown there. When you do have two tables, you must remember your first where condition. Always put it's your primary key equals to the foreign key. Primary key equals to the foreign key. So let's say it was the number. You'll say where table staff number equals to table sales number, if that was the link. So you'll just list the fields there that you want. So you'll have your table staff number must be equal to our table sales. Right, and then you will go on with your and age less than 10 or whatever. So it's your first one. Why I say first one? It doesn't need to be the first one, but it's just better. As soon as you do two tables in the from part, know that you will need your primary key equals foreign key. Once you've got two tables there, you must have this. So put it first, and you don't need to worry about forgetting it. Normally this part is like there's between 1 or 2 marks for indicating that, and then there's between 1 or 2 marks for indicating this part. So for just realizing that the SQL is two tables and saying that, normally that part there already gives you about 4 marks by just doing that. And I want to sort of guarantee you between one of the 6 SQLs you're going to get, one of them will be like this. One of them will ask you for two tables, and if you realize that and you go select any field, you can, even if you're not sure what to select, just put a star there. Select star from the two tables where the primary key equals to the foreign key of the two tables. Look which field is in both tables and just say the one must be equal to the other one. And by just doing that, you'll most probably get yourself 4 marks irrespective, and this question will normally be like 8 or 9 marks. So it's easy marks, and that one will always be there. One of the 6 questions will be there. Alright, then after that, you could get your order by. Now the order by is for the select part. Okay, I wanted to start with the easy one, but then I discussed a bit more than I should have. But yeah, so with the easy question, it will normally be selecting all the fields from our table, and then we'll do our order by, and then you'll choose your field. Let's say they want to order by age. So this will sort the table now according to age. Please remember it's order by. For some people really want, because they say sorted here, you really want to say sort by or something. No, it doesn't work. Sort by doesn't work. If you put sort by and you play it, it will tell you there's a mistake by the sort by method or area. Then you'll know something is wrong there. So there is no sort by. It must be order by. Age, and this is automatically alphabetical or ascending. If you want the descending, you have to add DESC. That will do it descendingly. Now this order by, you can add to the end of any of your other ones. Even if you do like this link one, where they could sometimes ask you like a lot of things in one question. And they could ask you to list those things from the two tables, link the two tables where the age is less than 10, and then they can ask you to sort it by age descent. So even if the question is very long, do the pieces you can. Let's say you weren't too sure what to do in the select part. Try not to leave it open, at least put a star there. But then if you can realize it's two tables, then put that there. And if you know you have to sort it, then you just add that part there. Alright, so your first one will generally be something like this. Something they also like to add somewhere in one of them, or sometimes in the first one, is to say they don't want to see duplicates. And just anyway, if you see anywhere in the question, they just throw out that word, don't show duplicates. Then the word distinct must just be added after the select. So you just go select, you just add the word distinct to the front. So if it was this long one that I told you and they said this thing must be distinct, oh wait, let's just undo quickly. Yeah, like this one where all these things had, and they ask you that it must just be no duplicates, just means you just go to the front and you just add distinct ones. Okay, so you don't need to add distinct to each of the fields. You just put it after select, you put distinct, and then you list all your fields and you carry on. So you just throw in that word after the select if they want you no duplicates. Then you don't need to worry any further or anything about that. No. Yes. So how the distinct works, it always looks at the whole statement. Those of you like know our Afrikaans class, we've got two browns. See, if I say select surname from the table and I put distinct there, I'll see brown only once. But if I say select first name, if I say select distinct first name, comma surname, I will see Romano Brown and Keanu Brown. Even if, because it looks at the whole record. The whole record needs to be identical. Then you'll only see once. But once something in these fields makes it different than the previous one, if it's the same first name, same age, same name, same price, but a different staff number, you'll see both of them. Only if everything you're displaying is identical, then it will remove it. Yes?
So what if it said sort by the name ascending and then sort by the age descending?
Alright, so what you'll do with that one, so if you had the statement, so we want to sort by age, you said ascending, and then by, so if it's a then by, you just add a comma. And what's the next field? Let's say name, and then that you want it descending. So this will now sort by name ascendingly, because nothing is indicated, then it will sort by name descending. If you wanted it the other way around, where the name should be descending after age, then you would have had age descending there. And if you wanted name ascending then you had to say ascending there. Because how it works, it's automatically ascending. But as soon as you make it descending, everything after that's also descending. So if I said this, it will sort it by the age descendingly and then by the name also descending. So both will be descending. But if you want to change it to ascending again, you just say ascending there. So now it will sort by the age descending and then by name ascending. When you see this and how this works, remember it sorts by the first one. This is the most important one. So it will sort by age descending. Only when there's two ages that's identical, then it will look at the second part and then it will look at the name. So it's like you guys, our class lists. We sort by surname ascending, then by first name ascending. So we don't care if your name starts with an A, but your surname is a Z, you'll still be at the bottom of the class list. Because it will first sort by the surnames, and only when there's two people with the same surname, then we'll see, okay, which one's first name is alphabetically first to put him above the other one. Right, and that's how these things work. But you don't indicate ascending, that's fine, because you don't need to. Only with descending you must indicate descending. Otherwise it will do it ascendingly. Right, then other things you can get. So your first one should be something like this. Then the next, somewhere, as I said, one of them will be two tables. And one of them will most probably be a calculated field. Somewhere you get the highest age or the lowest age or the average age or something like that. So that will also be your select. And then remember, what do you want to see? You want to see the average age. So that is the field you want to show. So then for average, it's our AVG. And then in brackets, because it's a function, so you want the average of what? We want the average of the age field. So you select, you want to see the average of the age field. But because we're calculating something new, you have to give it a name. And we do that with as. So average age will work out what the average age is. And then as soon as you say as, we're going to give it a name. So then you can call it as average age, maybe, whatever. Again, try to make it one word. Remember, if the question specifically wants you to call it average age with a space in between, then what do we do with spaces again? Square brackets. Just to indicate that this is one field name. So do that with that one field name. Okay, what they could also then ask sometimes is, especially like average, they would want you to round it off because there could be lots of fractions. So I would advise, do it like that. Do everything you need to do, and then you just go to the front, you just add your round open bracket, and just after your calculation, you have to say by how many decimal places. So you'll say comma 0 if you don't want any decimal places, or comma 1 for one decimal place. Right. And then we still have our as, and because it's a select, you must still have your from, your table name, and then that could be all, or there could be a where or whatever. Then you just add the where again. With a where, maybe let's do some extra wheres. With a where, they could ask you for like a string. In text, they can ask you if it starts with an A. So as soon as that, we're looking for a pattern. You agree, start with an A. You don't know what the person's name or the fruit's name will be, but you know it's going to start with an A. So our apples we want to display. So where the name, and then you use like. Like is to give us a pattern. But now remember, because name is text, you need double quotes. And inside the double quotes, now we have to indicate if you want it to start with an A. That means A must be the first character, but after that we don't care. So the first character must be an A, but after that we don't care. But let's say you also wanted to see the people that start with an A, or the people who had an B inside their name. So or the name would be like, and it's still text, so we need our double quotes. But now a B can be any place inside the name. So it can be anything, but then at least a B and then anything again. So it can be anything and then a B and then anything. Alright, so that would, or the name can be anywhere inside, or they could ask you, maybe if you want the name to only end with a Z. So then again, name, we want a pattern, so we use like, and it's still text, so quotes. Anytime you want to compare with text, it's inside quotes. And now we want it to end with a Z, so they can be anything, but then a Z. So to start with something, to have something anywhere inside, or to end with. With this, we normally just work with one character, but it could be a sequence. Let's say you want all the names that ends with ing. So then you can say with anything and then ing. So then all the names, thingy and what, I don't know what else, I will have that in. Yes.
So it's case sensitive.
With SQLs, case doesn't matter at all. I like the specific words we use to identify for SQL. I like putting in caps. It's a good programming style or manners, but it doesn't need to be. You can have everything small, everything caps, doesn't matter. Even on the inside, if the person's name started with a capital letter A, this will also work. So it's not case sensitive at all. Alright, then what we can get is this will now, when we do these aggregate functions, it will always give you one value. So if you do the average of age, you get the average of everybody's age. But sometimes you don't want the average of everybody's age. You maybe just want per group. You want to know, let's say, the highest age of the boys and the highest age of the girls. So now you can even look on your sample output. You should see there's two answers. Once you realize, they say you have to do highest or lowest or average or count, but then you see in the sample output or through the question you're reading, you want more than one answer. Then you must immediately think group by. Because now we want the highest age, but according to gender. So we want to group it according to gender, make groups of gender, and then get the highest of each. Alright, so with that, again we want to see something. So it will be a select. We want the highest, so for highest we'll use max. Of which field? Of the age. It's still an aggregate function, so we still have to give it a name. So we still go as highest age. You still have to do your from whichever table it's from. So that part will always be there. Now the trick comes in. You read the question and you see, but you want the highest age according to the gender. So then you sort of remember, oh, so it's group by, so then you go group it by gender. So now this will work good, except you'll just see two answers. Normally the question, they like asking the question, I want to say vague inside quotes like this, where they just ask you, show the highest age, but per gender. So then you do all this, but once you do this, just realize the field you're grouping by, just add it to the front as well. So you just see the gender and the maximum age. Otherwise, you would have just seen 18 and 17. Now, which is the boys 18, girls 18, we don't know which one is first, which one is next. So the one you group it by, you just add it so that you can now at least can see male 17, female 18. Now you know which max age fits with which group. So if they wanted to ask this, forget my mouse. Maybe they didn't do it with age. They could have done it. We want the highest price or highest donation. It's highest donation as highest from that group by gender. So we want to know the highest donation. But then they say this donation, we want it to be formatted as currency. So then it's sort of the same as the round. You just go to the front of your calculation, then you say format, open bracket, then you just go after your calculation and you say comma, and then in quotes you say currency. Right. Try not to get confused with our flow to string F. Okay, I saw with trials some people wanted to say FF currency, because that's what we do with flow to string F. This is SQL, so it's not the same. Alright, so with this one we just say currency and we put it inside our double quotes. So this will format this thing to currency and then put it in highest and all the rest. Okay, maybe one more thing I just want to add to this one. So let's say they asked us to do this, but then they said they want this, they want the highest donation per gender, but for everybody born in 2020, for argument's sake. So now, and one of the fields, you've got date of birth, where there's the day and the month and the year inside there. So then you go after your from comes your where part, and then to work with dates, there's three functions that makes your life easier: day, month, year. So you'll just say you want the year of the date of birth. Let's say that's the field name, and you want to see where the year is equal to 2020. So this will now show you the gender and the highest donation as currency, called highest, from that table, where the year of the date of birth is 2020, and it will be grouped by gender. If for some reason the date of birth is text and not a date and time format, then you'll just use your like. So then you'll just like where 2020 is there, and then it will show you that.
What if the format is confused over the year?
So how the others, let's say if you wanted specific month, then you'll just say the month of the date of birth must be, and on this side you can see it's a number. So you don't need to say 06 if you want June. You can just say 6. If you do say 06, it's still fine. You'll still get all your marks. It won't give you a problem, but you don't need to. It's just the integer, so the month is 6. But just remember with this, you can't say where month of date of birth is equal to June. You can't put the word there, even though the sample output they show you that it's 12 and then June and then the number or the year. As soon as you use the month function, it gives you an integer of that month. So if it's August, it will be 8. So then you'll just say 6 or whatever. And the same with day, you'll just say day, date of birth equals to 20th, and then everybody on the 20th will be doing whatever you asked it to do. Another one that's nice with date of births, or with date and time. Firstly, if you just subtract them, if you say the one day minus the other day, it also gives you an integer of the days that's between those two. So if you wanted to work out the age, let's say you wanted to show the person's age, you can go select and then let's say the person's name, and then you can say now. So now gives you today's date. So you can say now, and you can subtract the date of birth field from there. The only problem with this is it gives you how old the person is in days. But let's say that's the question they wanted. They want to know how many days old is this person. Then you do that. See, as age, what you can also do. So the other thing we can do, if you wanted it here, you can say, so today's date minus that one, and then you can just divide it by 365. And it will sort of give you how many years old the person is at this stage. So if they ask you to throw away the fraction, you can say trunk of this whole calculation. So that will then work out the days, divide to make it years, and then throw away the fraction, call it as age, and then you must just have your from your table, and then that will work out the person's name with his age, thrown away the fraction. Or you can do a round, could also work. Most probably one of the questions is they will give you a variable where the user can type in something, then they want you to use that value to show that person's. So let's say they ask, type in the user's name and then show that person's age. Goodbye, no problem. So with that you will go select, and then we want to see his age, so we want to see the age from that particular table. And then in your where, we can say where the field, which is the name field, is equal to, and now because name is text, so you have to remember with this part, because name is text, you need double quotes. And as soon as you want to add a variable, it's always single quote. Just put some spaces so we can see it better. So you won't have the spaces, obviously. I just added the spaces so you can see it easier. Whenever you want to add a variable, it's always single quote plus your variable name plus single quote. So that's now for if, because name field is text, that's why it's inside single quotes. If the question was a bit reversed and you want to see the name from that table where the age was given, so where age is equal to, but now age is an integer, and integers does not need quotes. Quotes is only for text, so then you don't need the double quote. So then it's literally just single quote plus variable plus single quote. And then the third option could be if they type in a date, you could go select the name from that table where the date of birth is equal to, and because date of birth is of type date and time, you need your two hashes. And now because you want a variable in there, single quote plus variable name plus single quote. Alright, the only trick with this is your variable must be a string. It must be a string there, it must be a string there, it must be a string there. If for some reason this age, they typed it in as an integer, you're going to need to go and just int to string this variable. Right, so the variable you're adding must be of type string, and if it's not, you have to convert it to become a string when you add it to the SQL. Even though age is an integer, the coding wise, the variable you add must be a string. Yeah, they normally don't ask this. I don't think I ever saw it, but what they can also ask you, they can ask you to do another calculation. Let's say we've got a cost price field, but they want you to display the sales price. They can ask you to do that, and in that you can say select, and then we've only got a cost price field, so you can say your cost price field. I think. Right, so it's your cost price field, and then they'll give you the calculation. They'll say times it by 10, divide by 100, or whatever. So if the cost price, then we want to, let's say, add 5 to it, and then, so as I said, this calculation they'll give you, let's say they ask you to add 5, and then that you must divide by 10, and you must times it by 150, or whatever. They can give you any calculation you want to, and then they said this you must call then the sales price, and then just remember your from part from that particular table, and this will then display the sales price in that table. And you can have other fields. You can have the product and then the sales price. so that you can show those things. So you can have just like a fixed calculation for whatever reason to do something with a field. Yes, yeah, if they gave you, let's say they want you to add the value the user typed in, then in there, it's just as soon as you want to add the variable, single quote plus variable plus single quote. And there you go. So that will then put that value in. Alright, I think that's what the select, that's most things they can ask that I can think of now. Then, okay, with our insert, delete, and update, they are the same, but for some reason, you guys get it confused every time. You just have to learn it. So, especially update. For some reason, you don't want to learn update. Update, you say the word update, and then you say the table name. So, update does not have a from. Our update and our insert does not have froms. Only select and delete has got from. So it's your update and then it's your table name. Which table do you want to update? Then you say set is the next keyword. And now it's the field you want to change and to what you want to change it. So set should actually be like change. Update this table, change, let's say the cost must become whatever the cost was times 1.1 to increase by 10% or whatever. So they can say whatever you want to do with it, but then this field will change to that value, and then you could have a where. It doesn't need to have a where. If you've got a where, if you don't have a where, it will just do it with the whole table. If you've got the where, it will only do it with certain records. So you can update that particular table, set the cost to become cost times 1.1, where the cost was maybe less than 200. So now every item where the cost was less than 200, it will basically increase it by 10%. Yes.
If you want to update multiple